Hello, in this quick tutorial, I will explain to you what you can analyze using the map filtering panel in the results overview. So I have this data set which consists of 8 customers, 4 cross-docks, 2 DCs, 2 production facilities, and 4 suppliers. And I have saved this model and run it in the network design app to get an optimized result. Now, in the results overview, you can visually see all the lanes for your model. Using the map filtering, you can get vital information. So for example, the first filter here is the largest customers. So if I put number 1 here and if I turn it on, then it's going to show me my largest customer, which happens to be Lisbon in this case. If I make it number 2, then it's going to show me my 2 largest customers, with my second largest customer being Milan. And if I make it 5, it's going to show me my 5 largest customers. So this is how you can visually see who are your, let's say, top 20 largest customers, top 10 largest customers, depending on your data set. The next filter is about demand percentage. So here you can put a percentage and it will show you which customers in descending order by demand volume belong within this percentage. So for example, if I put 20% here and turn it on, then it's going to show me which customer by demand makes up 20% of the volume from the top. So in this case, it is Lisbon because Lisbon is the customer with the most demand. And now if I turn it into 50%, then we can see 3 customers, Lisbon, Milan, and Bruno. So we get to know that 50% of the demand in this model is coming from these 3 customers. So through this filter, you can see which percentage of your demand is coming from which customers. And then you have the threshold filters. So here you can input a number and it will show you the lanes in which flows are equal to or greater than the threshold entered. So let's take the example of primary transportation, which concerns lanes from the suppliers to the production facility. So in this model, there are 4 suppliers who send their goods to the production facilities, and they are here marked by blue. So now let's put a number in the primary threshold and see what happens. So I'm going to put in 7,000 and turn it on. So you can see that the moment I turned on the toggle, then the lanes from Rotterdam and Cologne disappeared. This is because the flow from these suppliers to the production facilities was less than 7,000, and that is why they disappeared, whereas the flow from Bremen and Antwerp were above 7,000. To see exactly how much was the flow, you can just align over these lanes like this, and you can see that there was a flow of 8,000 from Bremen to Zwallow production facility, and from Antwerp there was a flow of 10,000 units. So that is why these 2 lanes stay, because they are above 7,000 units flowing in these lanes. Just like primary transportation, you can also assign threshold values to other modes of transportation to see if the flows in those lanes are greater than the threshold or not. So here in the secondary transportation, I put a threshold of 170,000 and I'm going to toggle it on. And you can see that the moment I toggle it on, quite a few lanes disappear, which means that in these lanes, the flow was less than 170,000, whereas the lanes which stay, like this one, it means that the flow is greater than 170,000. Like for example, here from the cross dock in Madrid to Lisbon, the flow was around 202,000 units. And now I'm going to do the same for inter-resource. So for inter-resource transportation, I put a threshold value of 355,000. So I'm gonna switch off for the secondary threshold and turn on the inter-resource threshold. And you can see that as I turn on the inter-resource threshold, some of the lanes disappear. So let's look at the ones which stay. So you can see this one stays, and this means that there is a flow of more than 355,000. So for example, in this one, there is a flow of almost 697,000 units, and that's why this lane stays. Whereas the lanes which disappeared, so for example, this lane disappeared, it only had a flow of 343,000, which is less than 355,000, and that is why it disappeared. Finally, you have threshold for your resources, which means you can assign a threshold for the throughput at your DC or the goods produced at your production facility. So at the DCs, I put a threshold of 354,000. And once I turn it on, you can see that some of the DCs disappear. So let me just turn it off again. So you can see that right now we have this DC and this DC, but the moment I toggle this on, these DCs disappear. This means that the throughput at these DCs are less than 354,000, whereas for the DCs which stay, the throughput is greater than 354,000. So for example, at the Madrid DC, there is a throughput of 357,000, whereas the DC which disappeared, there was only a throughput of 353,000, which is less than 354,000. And again, similar logic applies to the production threshold. So I put a production threshold of 600,000. So before I turn on the filter, let me see how much is the threshold at the two production facilities which we have. So you can see the production facility in Zwolo, we have a production of 407,000 units, whereas at the production facility in Maastricht, we have a production of 1 million units. So then when I toggle this switch on, I should see the production facility in Zwolo disappear. And it did indeed disappear because the units being produced there were less than 600,000, whereas the Maastricht production facility stays because over here, more than 600,000 units were being produced. And once I switch it off, the facility in Zwolo comes back. So thank you so much for watching this tutorial, and I hope that now you will be able to use the map filtering in your results overview and find some vital data for your assessments.